the fuck was gonna tell me that I've been sleeping on Peak for way too fucking long? I have spent years, literally years, saying that Life is Strange 2 just never piqued my interest. And that it just didn't hold a candle to the first game with Max Caulfield and Chloe Price and everything. I kept saying that it was just not as good of a game. And now I just, as of like 2 minutes ago, beat it. I finally took the time, right, to sit down and play the entire game. And I think the only reason I never managed to do that before was because every time I tried to play Life is Strange 2, I would always binge play Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm first. And I finally got around to playing 2 where I just said fuck it. And I started with 2 right out the gate, right? And it had me pick my outcome from Life is Strange 1. I chose to sacrifice Chloe because I feel like that's honestly the most canon ending. But even after playing Double Exposure and everything, to me, it feels like the most canon ending is sacrificing Chloe. That's what I feel like really helps round out Max's character and the world as a whole. Now, before I get too far into talking about Life is Strange 2, I do want to let you know that I've already talked about the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit or whatever. I have a video on that, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch that. I didn't spoil anything, really. I don't think I spoiled anything at all about Life is Strange 2 in that video, but that game takes place during the episode 2 events, leading up to the halfway point, 3/4 point of that chapter. So it's not a bad watch, and I suggest watching, before you get too knee deep into this. So this is going to be filled with spoilers. All right, this isn't going to be I'm not going to sit here and try to fucking talk to you like it's no spoilers or whatever. This game came out years ago now, all right? And if you click this video thinking that you're just not going to get around to playing the game, I feel bad for you. I understand, because I was like you until recently, but I feel bad for you. Life is Strange 2 is just a fucking great game. Oh my god, you play as Sean Diaz, right? Son to Esteban Diaz and older brother to Daniel Diaz. Esteban runs a little garage out of his home. Daniel is just a typical 10-year-old who plays fucking Minecraft and shit, and he talks about that pretty frequently, surprisingly. I don't know why. I feel like that feels like a copyright thing, but I don't know. I guess it's okay. And it feels natural whenever he does bring it up too. It's not like they kept having him say it over and over and over again to jut in just for the sake of putting it in there, right? And Sean is a super interesting character too. Between, he's really into art, so he's got his hobby, and he smokes at the beginning, and he fucking hangs out with his friends and whatnot, and he's like kind of rude to his younger brother, but at sometimes it's a little justifiable. Like there's that one scene in I think episode 4 where Daniel snuck into Sean's room to steal his watch, and it's like, brother, I'd be pissed too. The fuck, I don't give a fuck how old you are, you little bitch. You're old enough to know better, you little shitter. So, that was a reasonable crash out, in my opinion. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a ton of clips from throughout this game. I have a good amount of footage, I would say, but just not throughout the whole game. As the game kept going, it was hard for me to take myself out of the momentum and stop to record some B-roll. So a lot of the footage is from the beginning of the game. I do have a little bit from episode 4. If I had to pick one, I'm stuck between episode 3 and episode 4 as being my favorites. Episode 5 was great too, and I realized about halfway through this game part of why I never really got into it, other than just comparing it to Life is Strange 1, is the fact that I just don't really like episode 1. Obviously the beginning is necessary. It sets up the whole storyline. It introduces you to the characters. It has a lot of key decisions, too, that you make that go towards the rest of the game. But I don't know. I just really didn't find it that enjoyable of an episode to play. But I'm glad that I just kind of gritted my teeth. I bore through episode 1. I played Captain Spirit. The end of Captain Spirit really drew me in, because there's that jarring jump from in episode 1 you were in forests and whatnot, and then all of a sudden at the end of Captain Spirit you're in a fucking suburbia and it's snowing, and you're like, where the fuck are we? What? Now, I know something about Beaver Creek, but where the fuck is that? Yada yada yada. So that really drew me in to play episode 2, and episode 2 was interesting, but if I didn't have Captain Spirit, I don't think I would have been as drawn into episode 2. It definitely was more entertaining than episode 1 for me. And then episode 3 I loved. I don't know why, something about the legal farm, getting close with Cassidy. I didn't really choose getting close with Finn. I didn't really vibe with him too much. I kind of got a weird under the skin feeling from him. Not like he was creepy, but like I always felt like his intentions were a little off. And then obviously at the end of episode 3, we see that, they ended up being a little off. Like, and I didn't choose to forgive him either, because if I was Sean in that situation, I'm like, brother, I told you no. All right, and you went and you took my brother to do that fucking heist anyway. Fuck you, dude. Like, you're gonna get whatever the fuck you deserve. Episode 3 was really fucking good. Episode 4 was also really good, especially like the whole cult thing was really interesting. And I think my favorite part was seeing how hard Sean fought to get back with Daniel. Like, yeah, he's definitely been constantly fighting with Daniel and having his moments and yada yada yada. But episode 4 really shows that, like, alright, when push comes to shove, Sean will fucking be there for Daniel. He stole I had him escape without hurting anyone, because I found the route and I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's gonna I try to make a decently overall good Sean for the most part. But he did steal the car, of course, to drive to Nevada. He got there, fucking, yeah. When I ran into those guys on the side of the road, I didn't end up having to sing or anything. Not that that's important, but I don't know. It showed up in the decisions list at the end, so I felt like someone would be interested in that. Oh fuck, I'm rambling. This game was so much fun. Episode 5 was really interesting, being at that away camp, meeting the people that were there. They kind of felt like rejected versions of characters that were considered for episode 3's group, but I still liked them. I still liked Away, and I liked getting to finally foster that relationship with Karen. And then who the fuck was going to tell me that David comes back? For years, everyone had said that the only connection between Life is Strange 2 and Life is Strange 1 is, depending on the ending you picked, how Arcadia Bay looked in the background when you're talking to Brody in episode 1. But nobody fucking even hinted that we get to see a character from Life is Strange 1. That's crazy to me, right? Anybody? I was sitting there and I was doing the treasure hunt with Daniel, right before David shows up with Karen, and I was walking around David's RV, and I was like, oh, it's called David's RV, that's kind of funny, haha. And I was like, oh, there's an antenna. That seems a little on brand for David from Life is Strange 1, but okay. And then I'm walking around, and as I walk around the back of it, you can see just inside the trailer. Now, obviously, at the time, I didn't know later on you would go inside of it, and you can see on the fridge there's a picture, and you can very clearly make out 3 figures, one of which having blue hair. I was sitting there shitting in my fucking chair, alright? I was ecstatic. I was like, holy shit, is this just meant to be like a fucking nod to Life is Strange 1? Because Sean said that there were some people who intermittently came to Away over time. Not that he saw them, but just that's what Karen had said. Maybe David having an RV there was kind of just like a nod for the eagle-eye viewers or whatever. And then David showed up and he's got a full fucking beard and everything. Dude, so cool. So cool. Now, I was always very iffy about David as a character, but this felt like a nice redemption for him, just getting him to see him like this. Again, I sacrificed Chloe, so the reason for him and Joyce splitting up in that route being just the death of Chloe was too much for Joyce, and then getting to see how he is from reacting from that, having learned from his lessons, and even when we were leaving, getting to hear him talk to Joyce on the phone. I sat there for a few minutes and I just listened, like a little bit of a creep, but still, like I really just overall enjoyed the attention to detail they gave David to kind of round him out as a character, instead of him being this like mostly one-sided, kind of just a fucking asshole who has a redeeming moment at the end of Life is Strange 1, to now we really get a full-fledged David. You know what I mean? Honestly, now having played Life is Strange 2, I'm curious if in Double Exposure there's any nods that I didn't know about when I played it, and I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to play True Colors as well. I don't have it though, so that probably won't happen for a little while yet, but now I'm curious, because again, Life is Strange 2 and True Colors have both been dogged on a lot by other people. I'm glad I finally came around to making my own opinion, because I fucking loved this game. So maybe I'll like True Colors, maybe I won't, I don't know. I hope Don't Nod keeps coming out with these games, or whoever the fuck is developing them now. I hope we get to see more, especially at the end of Double Exposure, hinting towards there being more, with the Max Caulfield will return and whatnot. That'll be super interesting. So yeah, I think I've gotten everything that I want to say said. It took me about 17 hours to beat Life is Strange 2 with all the exploring that I did and everything. So I'm very, very satisfied with this game, and I highly suggest you play it yourself just to see. Oh, you know what? That is something I wanted to mention. I love the depth of this game. It is, to me, it feels so much more decision based than even Life is Strange 1 was. Now, granted, I know you obviously they're decision games, right? You craft the story by making your decisions, but Life is Strange 2 has so much to do with your choices. It's insane, especially going through the endings, like going through the decisions at the very end of episode 5 and seeing all the alternative outcomes that could have happened. I'm very curious. I'm thinking about watching a video about all the different endings because there's 7 total endings. But your decisions throughout the game don't just shape the story, they specifically shape Daniel and how he does things. So, you know, there was when Daniel comes to break you out after you guys get arrested and everything in episode 5, Daniel showed, for my playthrough, he showed no concern for the officer that he knocked out when Sean goes to check his pulse. Because I had built a Daniel who the Sean was prioritizing, always taking care of them. It didn't matter who the fuck else was in the way. I always took care of Sean and Daniel. And that reflected in the ending, and it also reflected in just the way Daniel acted. You know, ultimately between the surrender and cross options, I chose surrender because I felt like that made the most sense for my Sean. You know, he already heard that Daniel would get sent to live with their grandparents, Claire and Steven. Sean, you know, they're facing this impossible situation. And Sean he's never asked Daniel to kill him, I playthrough. Now, granted, I did let that fucking mountain lion or whatever it was die, because that just made sense. If he dropped that motherfucking mountain lion, nothing says that bitch wouldn't have jumped at us and fucking killed us, alright? Now, granted, I know the game probably wouldn't have made that happen, but realistically, yeah, I would kill that fucking thing. I'm sorry. Sorry to say it, but, like, it's just survival of the fittest at that point, and my motherfucker's got superpowers. Anyway, with the ending, I chose surrender because I felt like that made the most sense for my Sean with his Daniel. And Daniel was like, nah, fuck that shit, ride or die, brother. And he fucking forces us through the gate, and Sean dies. So we get to see Daniel grown up in Mexico, you know, fucking fighting people and shit, and having a memorial for Sean. He's got blonde hair. Like, it was a super cool fucking ending, and it felt super satisfying because it built up all the things that I had, you know, done for Daniel. But at the same time, it was a little like heartbreaking because it's like, okay, Daniel didn't understand why I made the decisions I did, and that's just how he led his life. You know, robbing banks, pickpocketing, doing whatever it takes to survive. That's great, but he never tried to make an honest life for himself because he didn't know any better. So even though I felt like my Sean was doing the right things, because he ultimately wasn't there to guide Daniel in his decision making as he grew up, Daniel only had whatever was left and whatever he could intuit to figure out. So, I don't know. I'm really interested in what all the possible endings are, and I'm probably going to go through and watch those. So, if you have anything to say, please keep it to yourself because I absolutely hate reading comments. I hope this video has been entirely unhelpful to you, and I hope you have a bad day. You play as, like his, I guess, fuck. But, oh, that was really loud. Not Daniel, Sean said that, there were some characters, or not characters, fucking Jesus. So I thought that maybe Daniel, or not Daniel, fuck, why do I keep saying Daniel?